Imagine a fighter jet that can travel from New York to Los Angeles in under 10 minutes, a machine that thinks faster than any human pilot, an aircraft that becomes completely invisible to enemy radar while flying through space itself. Sound impossible? The Pentagon's top-secret Project Mayhem is already working on it. China's Shenlong spaceplane has conducted classified orbital tests. Russia's Ministry of Defense claims their MiG-41 will be operational by 2035. These aren't your grandfather's fighter jets. Welcome to military deterrence. Today we're talking about weapons that will make the F-35 and even the brand new F-47 look like relics from a bygone era. The 7th generation fighter is coming, and it's going to rewrite the entire doctrine of air warfare. The race for total air dominance just entered a new, invisible front. While the world focuses on the F-35's logistics or celebrates Boeing's F-47 contract win, defense architects and Black World programs are already building something that operates on an entirely different level, a system designed not just to win airspace, but to dominate the entire battle space from the stratosphere to the exosphere. Let's cut through the speculation and talk about the tangible capabilities being developed. The F-35 Lightning represents the peak of 5th generation technology. The F-47, awarded to Boeing, promises to be our first 6th generation platform. But here is the strategic reality everyone is missing. By the time the F-47 achieves initial operational capability, its successor's core technologies will already be flying in experimental testbeds. What exactly defines a 7th generation fighter? Think of it this way. The leap from a propeller-driven P-51 Mustang to an F-35 is monumental. The gap between an F-35 and a 7th generation aircraft will be even more profound. It's the difference between a single weapon and an entire intelligent battle system. First, consider propulsion. Current fighters like the F-22 Raptor are limited to Mach 2.5. 7th generation aircraft are being designed around revolutionary combined cycle engines. These engines can operate as turbofans for takeoff and landing, seamlessly transition to ramjet mode for supersonic flight, and finally act as scramjets for sustained hypersonic travel above Mach 5. That's over 3,800 miles per hour. At that velocity, it could respond to a threat anywhere on the globe in less than an hour. But speed is merely a feature, not the ultimate goal. The real transformation is in awareness. The F-35 sensor fusion was a revolution. 7th generation fighters will employ quantum-entangled radar. This isn't science fiction. This technology uses paired particles where a change in one instantly affects the other, regardless of distance. This allows for detection of stealth aircraft by sensing the disturbance their passage creates in the local quantum field, making current stealth coatings completely obsolete. You cannot hide from a sensor that doesn't need to send a signal to receive information. Here is a critical new fact most overlook. The airframe itself will be alive. We're moving beyond metamaterials to bio-integrated systems. The skin of the aircraft will be a layered composite of nanoscale polymers and synthetic biological tissue. This skin can repair minor damage automatically, much like human blood clotting. It can also change its electromagnetic properties in real time, effectively becoming a chameleon that can mimic the radar signature of a commercial airliner or even distort itself into an unrecognizable blur. The cognitive core of this machine is where the true leap occurs. This will not be an aircraft with an AI co-pilot. It will be an AI with a human advisor. Its artificial mind will be built on neuromorphic C, computing processors that mimic the human brain's neural structure. This allows for pattern recognition and decision-making speeds millions of times faster than a human pilot. It will run millions of combat simulations in milliseconds during engagement, predicting every possible outcome before a single weapon is fired. This leads to the most crucial tactical shift. The aircraft is not a lone wolf. It is the command node for a hunter-killer ecosystem. A single 7th generation fighter will control a networked swarm of over 100 low-cost attritable drones, each a specialized tool. Some will be sensor nodes creating a massive distributed radar array. Others will be electronic warfare platforms creating a localized fog of war for the enemy. And others will be kinetic effectors, missiles with wings, that can be sacrificially directed to overwhelm defenses. This is why the platform cost is justified. You're not buying a fighter. You're buying an airborne battalion. The manufacturing paradigm is also breaking. These craft will not be built, they will be grown. using giant vat-based 4D printing. The airframe and major systems will be printed as a single, unified structure, layer by atomic layer, significantly reducing weight and points of failure. This process allows for material properties that are impossible with traditional forging, such as gradients of hardness and flexibility within a single component. The strategic implication is the real story. This isn't just a new plane, it is a strategic deterrent on par with nuclear weapons. The mere suspicion that an adversary possesses such a capability creates a profound psychological effect, freezing their decision-making cycle. Why? Because it creates what strategists call the unknowable unknown. You cannot plan a defense against a system whose full capabilities you cannot see, understand, or predict. It is the ultimate embodiment of military deterrence. The power to convince an adversary that conflict is not just risky, but utterly futile. The nation that fields this technology first won't just control the air, it will control the decision-making timeline of every potential conflict. The 7th-generation fighter is the key to that dominion. It is the silent, invisible guardian that ensures peace through undeniable superiority. The journey to this future is already underway, not in public view, but in the classified research divisions of the world's most advanced defense contractors and government research agencies. To understand the true scale of this shift, we must look beyond the airframe itself and into the ecosystem that will enable it to dominate. Let's begin with the most critical element, the battle network. A 7th-generation fighter is meaningless without a near-instantaneous flow of data. Our current systems rely on networks like Link 16, which, while powerful, have latency and bandwidth limitations. The next step is the creation of a quantum-secured multi-domain battle grid. This isn't just an upgrade, it's a new central nervous system for warfare. Data from satellites in geosynchronous orbit, undersea drones in the Pacific, cyber units in Europe, and infantry squads on the ground will be fused in real time by the fighter's AI. It won't just see the enemy aircraft in front of it. It will understand the entire strategic context, the location of the enemy's command node, the status of their power grid, the morale of their troops, and the political calculations of their leadership. This holistic awareness allows it to choose not just the most tactically effective move, but the most strategically decisive one. This brings us to the concept of effects-based targeting. Today, a pilot's goal is to destroy a target. For a 7th-generation system, the goal is to achieve a specific political or strategic outcome. For example, instead of destroying an enemy airfield, the AI might calculate that a far more effective method is to use a non-kinetic cyber attack to disable the airfield's logistics software, combined with a precision standoff weapon to crater a single key intersection on the runway, rendering it inoperable for a critical 72-hour window without a single casualty. The system would then deploy nano-drones to provide battle damage assessment, confirming the outcome and feeding that data back into the network. The fighter becomes a conductor of orchestrated, multi-domain effects. Now let's discuss survivability. Stealth, as we know it, will be obsolete. The next frontier is adaptive signature management. Imagine an aircraft skin embedded with billions of microscopic nano-emitters. This skin can do more than just absorb radar waves. It can actively project any signature it chooses. To an enemy radar, it could appear as a harmless cloud of ionized gas, a flock of birds, or a commercial Boeing 747. It could mimic the radar cross-section of an incoming missile to trigger false alarms and waste enemy interceptors. Its infrared signature can be actively cooled and managed, making it invisible to heat-seeking missiles. Furthermore, it will employ quantum stealth, using metamaterials to bend light and other electromagnetic waves around the airframe, not just making it invisible to radar, but rendering it truly invisible to the naked eye. You could be looking right at it and see only the empty sky behind it. Power generation is the key that unlocks all of this. The energy required for hypersonic flight, directed energy weapons, and advanced cloaking is immense. The solution lies in compact fusion reactors or advanced beta-voltaic nuclear batteries. These are not the theoretical reactors of old. Recent breakthroughs in superconducting magnets and plasma containment have brought portable fusion from science fiction to the realm of near-term reality. These power plants could provide virtually limitless energy, allowing the aircraft to loiter for weeks or even months without refueling, creating a perpetual, persistent presence in contested airspace. This alone changes the strategic calculus of a region. The presence of a single such aircraft could deny an entire nation's airspace indefinitely, a concept known as persistent area denial. Let's talk about weapons. Guns and missiles are blunt instruments. The arsenal of the future is more sophisticated. The primary weapon will be directed energy, high-energy lasers, and microwave emitters. These weapons travel at the speed of light, making them impossible to dodge. They can be scaled from a low-intensity pulse that permanently fries the electronics of a swarm of drones to a high-intensity beam that slices through the hull of an enemy warship. But perhaps more frightening are non-kinetic effectors. Imagine a weapon that is simply a focused beam of information. It doesn't destroy a target, it reprograms it. This cyber-physical attack could command an enemy missile to turn around and seek its own launch platform, or order an enemy tank to shut down its engines and open its hatches. The fighter becomes a platform for delivering strategic-level paradoxes to an enemy commander. The human role in all of this is evolving. The pilot, or more accurately, the mission commander, will be more of a strategist than a stick and rudder operator. They will be immersed in a virtual reality command environment within the cockpit, their consciousness plugged into the data stream of the entire battle space. They will issue intent-based commands to the AI, achieve air superiority in this sector, or neutralize that enemy command center, and the AI will execute the mission with trillions of calculations per second, coordinating the swarm of attendant drones and non-kinetic effects. The human is there for moral reasoning, strategic oversight, and to serve as the final link in the chain of accountability. Why for lethal decisions, a crucial ethical and legal firewall. Finally, we must address the grand strategic implication. Deterrence Theory 2.0. For decades, nuclear mutually assured destruction, MAD, has been the bedrock of strategic deterrence. Seventh-generation fighters introduce a new form of deterrence, non-nuclear strategic dominance. A nation that possesses a fleet of these systems can achieve overwhelming military superiority without ever crossing the nuclear threshold. It can enforce its will, defend its interests, and deter aggression with precision, deniability, and without the apocalyptic consequences of nuclear exchange. This doesn't make nuclear weapons obsolete, but it creates a powerful new tool for managing conflict escalation, potentially making the world both more stable and more complex. The race for this capability is the new space race. It is a marathon, not a sprint, requiring decades of sustained investment in basic science, advanced engineering, and human capital. The nation that wins this race will not just have a better air force, it will dictate the terms of international relations for the next century. The seventh-generation fighter is not merely a weapon, it is the embodiment of national will, technological prowess, and strategic foresight. It is the ultimate guarantor of sovereignty in an increasingly contested world. To fully grasp the disruptive nature of these systems, we must venture beyond the immediate airframe and examine the new theater of operations they will create. We are no longer discussing merely controlling the air. We are discussing the weaponization of the entire electromagnetic spectrum and the very environment itself. Consider the concept of weather dominance. This is not about causing rain for mud. Advanced seventh-generation platforms will carry payloads designed for atmospheric modification. They could deploy specialized particles to create localized, intense ionospheric disturbances. The effect? They can selectively deny an enemy's use of satellite communications, GPS, and over-the-horizon radar in a precise localized area, creating a temporary bubble of electronic silence over a battlefield, while friendly forces, operating on secure quantum channels, remain fully connected. Imagine the chaos for an enemy force suddenly rendered deaf, dumb, and blind in a specific valley, while your own forces operate with perfect clarity. This is a form of dominance that transcends kinetic destruction. Furthermore, these aircraft will be pioneers in information warfare as a maneuver element. Their AI won't just process data for targeting, it will be a master of perception management. It could orchestrate a multi-pronged information attack in real time. As it engages an enemy unit, it could simultaneously spoof enemy communications, generating false audio orders from a commander's voice print to create confusion and disarray. Generate deepfake video feeds on enemy monitoring systems, showing them a false reality of the battle space, their own units surrendering, or non-existent friendly reinforcements advancing. Launch microbots that physically attach to enemy vehicles and infrastructure, broadcasting false electronic signatures and corrupting data buses from within. The goal is cognitive supremacy, to win the battle inside the enemy commander's mind before a single physical asset is destroyed. The seventh-generation platform is the key node that makes this synchronized multi-spectrum attack possible. Let's delve deeper into the material science because the airframe itself is a sensor and a weapon. We are moving into the realm of programmable matter. The skin will not be a passive material. It will be a dense mesh of nanoscale nodes, each one a tiny processor, radio, battery, and sensor. This smart skin can act as a distributed EPR-2, radar, a signals intelligence array, and an electronic warfare suite, all at once. Now, we must address the elephant in the room: autonomy and the chain of command. The speed of engagement at hypersonic and quantum computing levels will be far too fast for human-in-the-loop decision-making for tactical defensive actions. This necessitates a shift to a human-on-the-loop model. The AI will have pre-delegated authority for certain actions, primarily defensive countermeasures and electronic warfare. It will be authorized to engage incoming hypersonic missiles, jam threatening sensors, and deploy countermeasures at nanosecond speeds. However, the release of lethal kinetic force against strategic targets will remain under positive human control. The mission commander's role will be to set the rules of engagement, monitor the AI's execution, and provide the final go or no-go for strikes. This balances strategic accountability with tactical survival. Finally, the strategic deployment doctrine will shift from base-centric to domain-agnostic. These aircraft will not rely on large, vulnerable airbases. They will be capable of ultra-long endurance missions, operating for weeks from dispersed locations. They could be maintained and rearmed by mobile, autonomous support units hidden in remote areas or even on unmanned sea platforms. This ghost fleet of support assets makes the entire weapon system resilient to a first strike. You cannot disarm what you cannot find. The emergence of the 7th-generation fighter signals the end of the traditional Air Force and the birth of the Effects Force. It is a unifying platform that blends air, space, cyber, and information warfare into a single, seamless instrument of national power. It is not just the future of aviation, it is the future of sovereignty, deterrence, and strategic competition. The nation that fields it will not just rule the skies, it will command the spectrum of conflict itself. To truly understand the strategic earthquake these systems represent, we must now pull back the curtain on their most disruptive capability: quantum domain superiority. This extends far beyond quantum radar or encryption. We are entering an era where the aircraft doesn't just operate in the physical environment, it manipulates the fundamental building blocks of information itself to create an insurmountable advantage. Consider the concept of the quantum echo. The aircraft's AI, powered by quantum computing, can run near-infinite simulations of the battle space. But it goes a step further. It can deploy a swarm of microsensors that create a digital twin of the entire theater of operations in real time. This isn't a map. It is a perfect, living, breathing quantum simulation that runs milliseconds ahead of reality. The AI can then play out every possible enemy action in this simulation before it happens, identifying the single most effective countermove. The enemy is not fighting the aircraft. They are fighting a prediction of their own future actions. Their tactics become instantly obsolete because the system has already computed and neutralized them before they are even fully conceived by the enemy commander. This leads to the ultimate form of stealth: temporal ambiguity. The aircraft's systems can introduce microsecond delays and advanced algorithms into enemy sensor feeds. To an enemy radar operator, the aircraft might appear to be in 3 places at once, or flicker in and out of existence. It could project a false signature that shows it performing a maneuver that is physically impossible, breaking the enemy's understanding of physics and shattering their tactical confidence. The goal is not just to hide, but to create a pervasive, paralyzing uncertainty, to convince the enemy that their own sensors are lying to them, that they cannot trust their own eyes and ears. Let's discuss propulsion beyond the combined cycle engine. The next frontier is mass manipulative propulsion. Theoretical research into metamaterials that can influence gravitational and inertial forces suggests a future where aircraft could drastically reduce their effective mass during high-G maneuvers or acceleration. This isn't anti-gravity, but a profound manipulation of physics that would allow for maneuvers that would tear apart any existing airframe. Instantaneous directional changes at hypersonic speeds, or silent propulsion-less hovering. The aircraft could effectively fall in any direction it chooses, making it an unpredictably agile predator in any domain. The manufacturing process itself becomes a strategic weapon. With AI-directed atomic-level assembly, these aircraft could be produced in facilities that are fully automated and buried deep underground, safe from any conventional attack. The AI designing the aircraft could also be the same AI that controls its assembly, creating a perfect, seamless loop from design to deployment. This allows for a constant silent evolution of the fleet. Each new aircraft could incorporate minute design improvements learned from the combat data of all other aircraft in the fleet, creating a Darwinian evolution of machines where the entire fleet grows smarter and more capable with every sortie flown by any single unit. Finally, we must confront the deterrence paradox this creates. A nation possessing a fleet of these systems achieves such overwhelming conventional dominance that it removes the need for nuclear first use. However, this very dominance could provoke extreme instability. An adversary facing such an insurmountable technological gap might feel cornered, leading them to lower their threshold for nuclear use out of desperation, believing they have no other means of response. Therefore, the 7th generation fighter doesn't just win wars, it imposes a profound responsibility on its operators to manage escalation with wisdom and restraint. It becomes the ultimate tool of both victory and stability, a shield that must be wielded with immense strategic maturity. The 7th generation fighter is more than a machine. It is the physical embodiment of a nation's technological, intellectual, and moral trajectory. It is the point where science fiction becomes strategic reality, and where the future of global security will be written not in treaties alone, but in the silent, invisible calculus of quantum processors and the unwavering will of those who command them. This is the future of military deterrence. It is not on the horizon. It is already taking shape in laboratories and testing facilities around the globe. The decisions made today will echo through history,